Dragon Ball fans, welcome back to issue 17 of G-Fighterz. I'm your host, Sully, and today I'm joined by Mark. How are you today, Mark?
Good. It's been a long time.
It has been a while between records.
Yeah.
We just went back and had a look, and it's May 12th. I think it was around Goku Day. It was our last record. So we do apologize for that. We're trying to get back into some form of regularity, but we've had a lot going on, haven't we, Mark? I was meant to be going on holidays. That kind of fell through, so I did some other stuff. You've been working recently full time.
Yeah.
And you've got some other stuff going on, but I think we'll get there. We will get back to regularity with G-Fighters. I think that's our goal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just get G-Fighters back on the road.
Yeah. Then we can handle the rest later.
And then we can handle the rest later, because G-Fighters is a lot of fun, man. There may not always be a heap to talk about week to week, and granted, between that month off in record, we didn't miss a shitload. We've got a couple of big things that we can discuss, but other than that, it's been pretty quiet, hasn't it? So I guess that's the nature of a franchise that's been running for 30 years now. It's not always going to be jam-packed with news every single week. But we do our best to fill out each episode when we were doing it weekly, so hopefully we can get back to that point in time soon. But today, Mark and the listeners, we are going to be discussing and speculating the news regarding a new Dragon Ball Super movie. It's basically all but confirmed, so we'll be jumping into that soon. We're going to be talking about Project Kakarot. Have I said that right, Mark? There's no X anymore. Project Kakarot.
Yeah. It's I think it's now just called Dragon Ball Kakarot or Dragon Ball Z Kakarot.
My lord, that title just, it fucks me up, man. It throws me through the ringer every single time. When I was watching the gameplay demo, I actually just Googled Project Kakarot and it came up. So we will be discussing that soon as well. But Mark, let's actually start with, let's just get this out of the way, right? Because this is just such a disappointing mess in my mind. In the way that I've presented on here, it's just gone to shit, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. And two, in the public realm and the fandom, it's just been a disaster. But let's quickly talk about the Funimation 30th anniversary box set edition. So before we actually jumped on to record, we went and actually had a look at the Funimation website because we were kind of curious. It seems strange that we hadn't heard anything about it. Perhaps we missed it, Mark, and I do apologize if something was released or announced regarding this box set. I didn't hear anything about it. Mark didn't hear anything about it. But I'm on their website right now because we thought it was strange that we hadn't heard anything about it. And apparently it looks like it's sold out. And Mark actually speculated that they might do like a little cheeky release like that after all the negative backlash they've received. So on their website, it just says units remaining, 0 out of 6,000, unless that's some kind of error, and it's actually saying there's still all of the units out of 6,000 remaining. But I think that's reaching there. Yeah. It also has a grayed out, sold out button next to the price tag. So it looks like this box set has come and gone, which is interesting because I haven't seen anybody dissecting it in my feeds, my YouTube feeds. Usually Dragon Ball content floats to the surface. None of the big guys that I follow, like Geekdom and Anime J, have had anything to say about this box set regarding a dissection of what exactly it was at the end of the day. So it looks like, I'm guessing this is just a box set that came and went, and kind of those fans in the middle picked it up who probably weren't looking or watching the radar too closely and paying attention to all the shambles and mess that was surrounding this box set. Like, is that kind of where you're leaning towards, Mark? Like, they advertise this and just kind of the normal fans of anime and Dragon Ball Z picked this up without knowing?
Yeah, well, I think it's still in the sort of pre-sold out stage, so I don't think anyone's actually got it yet. But I think anyone that did pre-order it, most likely, they might, like, if they knew what was going on, they might have been annoyed, but still gone, oh, well, it's Dragon Ball on Blu-ray. and picked it up. And it's a special edition. Special editions get people. Like, special editions get me a lot.
It looks really nice. I'll give it, the box set looks really nice. So you think people actually haven't got these box sets yet?
No. I think it's still a pre-sold out thing, because there surely there would have been an unboxing.
Surely, right? Surely. Like, this is kind of why I'm gobsmacked, because we're kind of digesting this right now. Like, we haven't spoken about this. We literally just viewed this before we jumped on to record. So you're hearing all of our thoughts live. But yeah, like, you're right. Like, I just thought it was kind of gobsmacking that we haven't heard anything. It's seemingly sold out, and we haven't heard anything from either Funimation or the public. Yeah. So we're assuming that they've just pre-sold it all, and they're yet to print these. I'm imagining yet to print and send out, I guess.
Yeah, that's where I'm sitting.
Which that kind of sounds like a typical greedy corporate thing to do. So I would not be surprised. Interesting. I'm still... Look, I think I know what this box set is. I don't think it's going to be a very good remaster based on everything we've seen. Who knows? I could be wrong. Perhaps they're going to go back to the drawing board after all this backlash and give us what we wanted, which is essentially a relatively untouched, upscaled 4:3 aspect ratio, or not necessarily upscaled, but I mean, it kind of has to be based on their masters of the box set. They're not operating or printing off of HD masters, I believe. So it's not going to be anything in the realms of what Toei Animation have done with their Dragon Ball movie remasters, which is disappointing because that's kind of the direction we wanted this to go in. So we're going to have to unfortunately wait and see what the quality of this box set is, but I feel like it's probably going to be a mixed bag of results, in all fairness. There'll probably be some good aspects. The box set itself looks incredible. It looks incredible. The artwork's incredible. You get a lot of cool stuff with it. It looks incredible. I just think the image quality on those discs will be a little bit of a mixed bag, unfortunately. So we will try and keep you guys as up to date as we can on this box set, and if we do start to see these pop up online and being reviewed, Mark and I will definitely be back to talk about these, because I'm very curious as to what the image quality is going to be on these Blu-ray discs. If anything else to say on that, Mark?
No, that's about it.
Without dwelling on this crap any longer, because I'm tired of it, disappointed and tired, let's move into some fun, Mark. So what do you want to start with? Do you want to start with the movie, or do you want to start with Project X? Let's just kick it wide open.
I think do Kakarot first.
All right, let's do Kakarot. So
yeah,
I'll let you take this away, Mark, on your demo impressions, because it's demoed at E3. So I've watched quite a few bits and pieces. I've seen the entire demo, but I want you to take it away, Mark, and then I'm gonna jump in.
Yeah. Okay. So at E3, not only did we get proper live gameplay of it for the first time, but we also got the first proper trailer for it, because up until now it was just teasing, and the trailer properly revealed its title and things like that, and sort of gave a bit of a glimpse at the story arc that we'll be going through, or at least part of it. And so we definitely know it's going to go up to Frieza, probably going to do more than that, because Akira Toriyama and the developers have said it's going to be a true, like, Dragon Ball Z experience. It's going to have everything you want from it, which basically also means that we're not going to get any Super. Yeah, pretty much. And like, I'm okay with that as long as they count Battle of the Gods and Resurrection of F as Z.
Okay.
Because I think that'd be a cool way to round it out. Like, just like Goku's arc from, say, start of Z to the very, very end of Z, possibly doing the end of Dragon Ball as well.
Well, a little bit of speculation. Could them ending with Battle of Gods be kind of the middle ground jump off point for this game, and then we pick up after that with a sequel, perhaps, for Super?
Yeah, see, that's also what I would like, because we haven't had a proper Super game. We've had a crap ton of Z games, but we've only had, like, fighting games that include super characters. We haven't had, like, an actual Super reimagined in games yet.
Well, this is just the power of that letter, isn't it? The Z. Like, it's just that brand recognition. Like, everything has to be labeled Z. Z, 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 Z. Like, everything sells if it's Z. But sorry, Mark, go on.
Yeah.
Go on. Keep give me your thoughts.
Yeah, well, so in terms of ground we've tread before, like it's a Dragon Ball Z game, and take it or leave it as that, because we've been through this a million times before, and I can absolutely see why some people wouldn't be keen, and to some extent, I'm not that keen to do it again, but. It came out during the demo that they showed, as well as recent interviews, that they said that there's going to be a strong focus on side activities and character backstories that weren't in the original manga and are penned by Akira Toriyama. So in the live demo, we saw Android 8 from Dragon Ball, and he had a side quest string, and it was
looking guy.
Yeah, like it's a very, very simple quest string, but there might be more to it in the full game and stuff like that. But he's always been a fan favorite and things like that. And if they said that there's going to be more backstories of key characters and things like that, we might see a lot more fleshing out of the grander Dragon Ball universe. And IGN had it this morning. It was a few dot points on what you should know about Kakarot before going into it. And they said that there's a private demo as well as a public demo, and everyone saw the public demo. Okay. But the private demo showed the world map, and they basically said you can fly up into the sky, and if you reach a certain point, then Goku sort of like leaves that area and looks over the planet, and then you select which open area to visit from there. And it's like they said there was like Korin's Tower, there was Kame House, there was Goku's house. There were the planes that they were exploring in the demo, and there was one of the cities, and there was another area that the name didn't ring any bells to anyone.
Yeah.
At all.
So, question mark.
Yeah.
Before I jump in at the end, do you think that world map will be the only way we can traverse between meaningful locations, or do you think we can just traverse the open world itself? Like, is it all connected without loading screens? Like, just open world that we can explore?
Yeah. They said that instead of open world, it's actually going to be that sort of interconnected open environment thing.
Okay.
So they said each environment's going to be pretty big, but it's not going to be one massive world.
Free roam. Yeah, okay. So you do have to go up into the sky and then change your location.
Yeah, or there might be like a end point of an area and it transitions into the next.
Yeah, so kind of like a giant Fable 3-esque type scenario.
Yeah, which I think is probably better for it. Yeah. Because if it was purely open world, then it would make Namek really weird.
Would it make it weird, or would it just make it a barren wasteland, which is what it was?
It'd make it a barren wasteland without a lot to do. Yeah.
I mean, that kind of feels like Namek to me anyway.
But to be fair, like if they're doing it this way, then you can do, there's Frieza's spaceship. There's their landing point. Here's where Goku fights Frieza. Here's where they fight the Ginyu Force. And stuff like that. Here's a Namekian village. Here's Guru's place.
I mean, it's a quality over quantity. So if they're not focusing on trying to flesh out size and then spreading out what they have over that size, we might be able to pull it back into a smaller play area.
Yeah,
and have more important things within that area.
That's what I'm hoping it is.
Yeah, I mean that's fair enough. I don't disagree with that.
And then, like, say we're doing all of Z, then basically when Android Saga starts, you're going to have even more areas and areas that change. And by the time they do Boo, you might have Otherworld as well as like Land of the Kais and stuff like that.
Dude, I have to admit, it will be really cool to do the android hunt through the mountains when they're trying to find Dr. Giro's lab. That would be cool, I reckon. That would be cool.
And then the other thing is that this dev team, CyberConnect, love cinematic gameplay. They want to make gameplay as cinematic as possible and as pretty as possible. And from the trailer they showed, you get that sense where every single attack or movement is very over the top, very cinematic.
It feels really well animated, doesn't it?
And like they've never done an open world game like this before, but they have done open environments and RPG mechanics. And like they've done quick time events and things like that. And from the gameplay we saw against Goku versus Raditz, it didn't seem like quick times were in it. It seemed like you just had cinematic attacks and Raditz would do things and you needed to think on your feet of how to dodge it. Because now that you can fly, it opens it up to, oh, it's not just like, oh, I can hit a quick time event to dodge something. No, I literally need to dodge in a 360 in an actual sphere. Like that's your dodge and movement. You need to think about it in 3 dimensions, which I think will be good, but it might be a bit awkward. And
well, it's like every kind of Dragon Ball game before it. It's that kind of, how do you make it intricate enough without just it being overbearing? Like, because like there's so many different planes of movement in Dragon Ball. How do you capture all of that and put it into a video game without it just being literally impossible?
And that's also why my favorite Dragon Ball games are usually the 2D ones.
Yeah,
because you can nail that. You can get it just right, but 3D is very tricky. But I guess like we're at the end of the PS4 life cycle or so. Like it's probably time we try it again. But then, just my last point is as far as the actual gameplay goes, like combat and things like that, I'm not too sold on it because it does just look like rough combat. It's very like I know that Raditz is the first major battle, and I'm sure that Goku gets a lot of other stuff.
Is it not deep enough for you mechanics wise? Is that what you're saying?
It just seems awkward. Okay. I'm sure that like it seemed like Goku had a temporary power up mode that he can go into that they didn't really name, which I'm sure will become Kaioken and by extension Super Saiyan and all that. And he had a bit of a move list that I'm sure is customizable as well. But if you're just playing as Goku the whole time, it might not be that interesting. In terms of like movement attacks and things like that. Like he had a team up attack with Piccolo, but like how often are you going to team up with Piccolo and stuff like that? I don't know. It seems like the combat is still the biggest development point. I'm hoping that it fixes up because I know CyberConnect can pull off good, varied, and interesting combat.
So you just thought it was a little bit rough around the edges and perhaps a little bit lacking in certain aspects.
Yeah, like that was the part that seemed like it was the most underdone.
Okay. From
everything else.
Yeah, I mean, but in comparison to previous 3D fighting games, that was a few years ago. We had a online RPG one with 3D combat like this. Do you remember what that was called?
The Xenoverse games.
Wasn't Xenoverse World something maybe?
Do you talk about the 10kg ones?
Maybe it was online. It was like it was all of the Z Saga. It was like this online RPG type thing, but like in comparison to other 3D open world fighting games that we've had before, like this stacks up pretty well in your mind, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, it's probably got the most potential out of all of them.
Okay, yeah. I'm just trying to like kind of position it in your head.
Yeah.
Like somebody who's played everything, you know.
Yeah. It's hopeful. Like my stance is hopeful, but I know it needs work.
Okay. You know, there's another level that you can go to.
Yeah, and the point that they're not showing that level is a bit worrying. Like how they say they're saying, oh, it'll be the storyline that Z fans expect and stuff like that. When they're prompted on, does it go beyond Frieza? It's like you can easily say yes or no to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Could you imagine? Let's just jump off and start talking about this game now. I'm going to jump in.
Yeah.
Could you imagine though if they pull something like a Final Fantasy VII remake-esque type thing and they break this game up into sagas?
Oh, that would hurt me so much. Because like I don't mind it. Like I said earlier, if it does all of Z, and then we can do Super later or something like that.
It's an RPG. You need a meaty chunk of a game to sink your teeth into, not sagas.
Yeah. Like I don't want to have majority of the start of Z to Frieza Saga. I don't want a majority of that to be original side content. Like I want original side content, but I don't want it to be the majority of the game that I play.
Okay, I'm gonna say this once, and I'm not gonna rag on it too much because I don't think people are that interested in what I have to say in regards to this. But I just wish this was Dragon Ball, not Dragon Ball Z. And we've been over this before, Mark. I think there's so much potential to flesh out the original Dragon Ball world with Goku as a kid and the RPG mechanics. You can have him grow into a young adult and him fighting the Red Ribbon Army and all that kind of stuff, right? That's an opportunity and a direction this game could have gone. It didn't go in that direction, so I won't dwell on it too long. This is just kind of pure me wishing and hoping. So I'll get back to actually talking about what this game actually is now. My first kind of... I was, again, Mike, I was not keen on this game, right? Kind of low-key not keen, right?
Yeah.
Which I think we've actually discussed in previous episodes. Not at all ragging on it, really interested to see what was going to be presented, but I wasn't really that keen. And most of it was that kind of... what you said, not really that keen on doing Dragon Ball Z again. Because, I mean, we've seen the anime like a million billion times. We've played every single game that's been set in the Z universe. So for me, for this game to really capture my attention, it actually has to do what they are suggesting it's going to do. It has to tell the Z story in a way where it is really fleshed out in a unique way, like with Android 8 and all his backstory. Like, I need more from it. It can't just be hopping from one major plot point to the next. Because if it does that, I'm done. Like, I don't want to do it again. I want to do everything in between. I want a fleshed out world. Combat-wise, though, I think it's up my alley. Like, I'm trying to gauge where you sit with the combat, because for me, it looked like it was enough for me, but I'm an extreme novice with fighters, right?
Yeah. So you're like, simple enough, but really cool looking. So I'm
absolutely. So like the only reason I've played fighters, and I really enjoyed it. The only reason I haven't invested in it is because I know I would never be competitive at that game because I'm not good at fighters. So to see this game kind of not even remotely reaching that point is kind of like relieving for me. So kind of, I guess you could say it's accessible to all, at least in its current state, but I'm not against them kind of reaching a little bit of a new level like you suggest, and just not necessarily making it harder, but just polishing it up a little bit more and giving a little bit more variety in certain aspects of the combat. I'm all for that. But I'll say this, after seeing the reveal, the proper gameplay demo and reveal for this game, my interest in this game has gone up tenfold. Because like I said, when we got that original trailer, I was just like, yeah, sure, it's going to be an incredible RPG. Fuck off, bullshit. It probably won't be. You know, like how many times have we had disappointing... well, not necessarily disappointing, but it kind of feels like Dragon Ball games. They get made by these funky studios, and they just never really become truly special. Do you know what I mean? Like you view a lot of these anime games, and it's like video game movie adaptations. They kind of feel like they exist in their own little niche and genre of the video game industry, and that's kind of where they stay. They never really break out of it and become a truly special game that it just hits every aspect out of the park, except Fighters. I will say Fighters was phenomenal.
It's really tricky because, like, especially the anime games that we do get, it's usually under the same publisher or license. And stuff like that. And usually that publisher gets the same developer to work on it. And for the most part, it's pretty much shovelware. Like it's a great example is Jump Force. Like, it looked really good, but the developer that they put on it does not do fighting games. Should not do fighting games. But did anyway.
So you know what I mean by, like, these games kind of feel a little bit same in their own little box, and none of them really break away except Fighters. But when I saw this game, I was like, okay, this is something different that I need to pay attention to. The combat looks like it's probably up my alley, and the open world looked really pretty. Like, it looked really pretty. I felt like they did a really good job of capturing the environment. It looks like it's got a nice feel to it, which a lot of these other games don't. They kind of look like this weird, gross cross between a video game and an anime, whereas this actually looked like it was presented really well and they've captured a good style. So this absolutely has my interest, actually.
Yeah, and like you said with Fighters, like part of the reason why Fighters I think turned out so good was because it was made by Arc System Works, who pretty much their sole purpose is to make big budget expensive, competitive fighting games. So you knew they were going to care about it. For this one, it's made by CyberConnect, who spent a lot of time and a lot of effort doing the entirety of the Naruto games. From start to finish. They've done like 8 games each time. They've like added onto the narrative, added onto the experience, known how to make it better and things like that. And so this is their first time going into Dragon Ball. And you know that they can perform.
Yeah. So, I mean, hopefully this is almost like a changing of the guard in terms of the handling of Dragon Ball in the video game realm. Like, hopefully we continue to see it get looked after correctly, because Project Kakarot, Dragon Ball Kakarot, whatever the fucking
just call it Kakarot.
I'm just gonna call it Kakarot. Whoever is developing Kakarot, they seemingly, it's seemingly like you said, it looks like they're almost a pedigree within that space, because it's showing, like, it looks nice, and I really want to explore that world. So I've kind of gone from like a 3 out of 10 in kind of like my anticipation scale to perhaps like maybe a 7 or an 8.
Yeah.
And I feel like I would honestly be at a 11 out of 10 if this was not Dragon Ball Z again.
So if it was Dragon Ball and you saw Kid Goku flying around on the Nimbus.
Oh dude. And we're just fighting the Red Ribbon Army. Oh my god, I would be frothing so hard at the mouth for that. Like, just something less trodden ground. And I feel like the Dragon Ball Kid Goku growing into a young adult over that Dragon Ball series fits the RPG mechanics well. It just feels like such a missed opportunity to tell something fresh. And you wouldn't have to worry about having to flesh out all these different worlds. You could just focus on Earth and put all the extra time into Earth and getting Earth fleshed out. Like, dude, you can see where I'm coming from, can't you? It would be so good. So good.
But I am appreciative as well, though, that for this game they've added in a little touch of the original Dragon Ball. Like they said, instead of flying everywhere, Goku can pull out the Nimbus. Yeah. And they were asked on one of the interviews, I don't know if it was in the live demo you saw, but they said, why does he have the Nimbus when he can fly? Or like, what's the purpose of the Nimbus? Does it do anything? And they said, no, we just thought fans would want it.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I like it. I dig it.
And like when
it'd be cool if you get the...
I don't know if you saw the fishing mini game.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. It's like Goku plugs in a fake tail and then starts fishing with his tail, which he used to do as a kid.
Yeah,
and you're like, yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Oh man, the more I talk about it, the more it just... Look, I'm excited, but I just get disappointed, man, because I want that Dragon Ball RPG experience. It'd be so cool.
Yeah.
Anywho, I want to ask you one last question.
Yep.
Before we move on, because I think we're both relatively pretty optimistic about where this game is going, and I will absolutely buy this. I'm keen.
Yeah.
But one last question. Why is it called Kakarot?
They specifically said that the story will focus only on Goku's journey, which leads me to believe that we'll only get things from Goku's perspective. So he'll see the Saiyan saga exclusively from his view. So where he had to go through Snake Way and all the things on it, and arrives just in time, and things like that, and sees everyone hurt. Or on Namek, you'll see his sort of journey and his training and stuff like that.
But why have we decided to embrace his Saiyan name rather than just Goku? Like, surely Goku has a little bit more marketing recognition, right?
Yeah,
just in the mainstream.
Well, I don't know.
It's just interesting, that's all.
I mean, like, it's probably a better way to differentiate yourself, like, from a marketing standpoint. But possibly they might be hinting at what else we'll see. Like, I wouldn't mind if the game opens on Bardock. And you do some Bardock stuff because he's the one who named him. Sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just curious.
And that'd be a good way to do a tutorial as well, because Bardock's already got all these skills and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just interesting. Like, I can't recall many times where we've had games or movies where Goku is referred to just Kakarot outside of a Saiyan's perspective.
Yeah.
So I guess he's a Saiyan and it's from his perspective, but I don't know. I just felt like it's a strange thing to lean into.
Yeah. There might be something more to it, and they're not going to ruin that.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So let's wrap this point up anyway, because I think we're both pretty keen. Have we got a release date? Isn't it? We do, don't we?
I think it's early 2020.
Early 2020. Okay.
I'll just quickly look it up.
Yeah, I'll definitely be picking this up. And I'm assuming we're getting it on all systems as well. If you want to quickly check that.
Yeah,
Switch,
I don't think Switch or they haven't confirmed it yet.
It'll be on there, man. If you can get Witcher 3 on there, it'll be on there.
Yeah, I love that. The Witcher 3 has basically just proven everything.
Proven everything. All our suspicions. Anything can be on there.
Yeah.
In what form or shape, we don't know, but it's on there. So
PC, Xbox One, PS4. Yeah, early 2020.
And then stay tuned for a Switch release, man. I guarantee it'll make it.
They weren't going to do Fighters on Switch, but it was purely from fan demand. And they're like, well, it's Unreal. The Switch can use Unreal. Yeah, let's do it.
So, why not?
Yeah. So I imagine something like that will happen here.
Yeah, dude. I fucking guarantee it'll end up on there, man. So, anyway, let's keep our eyes peeled for more on that one, because I'm pretty keen, actually. So let's move into our final piece of news for this episode, which is pretty much a new Dragon Ball Super movie got announced in a really odd way. Would you agree with that, Mark?
Yeah, it was just, we'd just wake up one morning and it was like, oh, Dragon Ball movie, cool.
You're like, oh, okay. And we actually spoke about this before we recorded, that Goku Day was kind of a bust. Like, on the last episode, we were kind of hyping up the potential for news, and we were like, we'll keep you guys posted. We were kind of watching the news feeds live during that record, and nothing really ended up coming. We got some DLC for Fighters that we already knew about. But we were kind of suggesting that wouldn't it have been a cool time to announce a new movie or something on Goku Day only a month and a half ago, rather than letting the announcement of a new movie come out or release to the public via a new release of Dragon Ball Broly Super on Blu-ray in Japan, where there was a pamphlet or a brochure or something, a booklet, some kind of promotional material that you got within that Blu-ray copy with an interview where an exec of the franchise just went, bleh, there's a new movie coming. And he thinks we're going to be excited about it. And it's going to be cool, apparently. So, and that's kind of all the news we have on that, Mark. Pretty much, like I said, there was a new release of Dragon Ball Super Broly on Blu-ray released in Japan, and within that release, there was a piece of new material, and it was an interview. His name has escaped me. I do apologize, but he is a overseer and a looker after of the franchise, and he's involved in the process of Dragon Ball Super and all this blah blah blah. Long story short, credible person, and he's just come out and said, be excited, because there's a new movie coming, and he's hoping to exceed fan expectation again and one up Broly, and that is the extent of the news we have on this. So how does that grab you, Mark?
I think it's cool that we're continuing on movies. And like I said it before the record, that I think that before we see the series return, and the reason why we haven't seen it return is because they're doing what they did before Super actually started, which is do 2 movies and then probably retread that ground when the series does return. So we had Broly, and like in the previous thing, we had Battle of the Gods and Resurrection of F, and things like that to kick Super off. And so I think that that's what they're going to allude to here. But I also think, and I mentioned this earlier as well, that I think that the new movie, they're going to go on this trend now of, this is purely speculation, but I think they're going to go on a trend that started with Broly of, we're going to make all of the fan favorites canon from now on. Basically for the longest time, I've wanted them to make Cooler canon, because I think Cooler is such an interesting character and has potential to be an amazing character in the realm of Dragon Ball Super, especially since Broly sort of paved the groundwork for the grander Dragon Ball universe at that time, and stuff like that. Like Frieza's getting more and more important in the story, getting more and more desperate to beat Goku and stuff like that. And I think it would be a good time to reintroduce someone like Cooler, or even just some other movie villain that didn't get enough development or wasn't that good but had a cool concept from earlier days.
There has been some speculation. There's been a lot of speculation. I'm not going to say some speculation. There's been a lot of speculation and rumors surrounding not so much the movies, but the anime, the series space, that it is being worked on. We should hear about it soon. None of this has come to fruition, though. This is all just speculation. But one of these little tidbits of speculation and rumor was that the next... there is a lot of fan service type stuff or material coming story-wise. So perhaps we will get Cooler. I would be all for that. I mean, is that a direction you could see the next movie going, assuming your 2-movie package is right, and your theory that we are going to see a lot of these characters kind of quickly get written in as canon, maybe for series purposes, so they can just roll them straight into the series?
Yeah, I like that sort of style, just because like they have done it before, and so I think it'd be cool to do it now. Especially because Cooler is getting more and more interesting within the realm of like the Dragon Ball Heroes stuff. Yeah. Because now he can go gold and stuff like that. And when you think about it, like Cooler in terms of the movie Cooler was meant to be stronger than Frieza and had a 5th form beyond it. And you're like, oh, that's so cool. Like if, say, they introduce him into Super and he is more advanced than Frieza, then there's nothing to say that he can't go gold.
Yeah.
But also if they have a sibling rivalry thing, it might be a Frieza movie that where he challenges Cooler. Because I can't imagine them actually getting along.
Challenges Cooler for his power and his armies, so he can kind of take back the galactic throne in a sense.
Yeah, like the Frieza force is dead, but Cooler's force continues.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be cool. Or maybe Cooler just hears about all this stuff and it's like, I need to check this out.
Yeah, because we know that there's more of Frieza's race around in other universes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so there's nothing to say that Cooler wasn't effing up another universe somewhere.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I don't really know where we go after the events of Broly, right?
Yeah. Because spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen Broly. But like they've established that Broly isn't gonna disappear.
He's no joke. Yeah.
He's either going to be someone that appears every now and again to help them out or to train against, or he might be part of the new trio. Like it might be Goku, Vegeta, Broly.
Yeah, and I personally hope so as well, because I think he's going to be a pretty cool character to see grow.
And like you can, this is just my thing while I remember, you can have them all with their own unique powers, because Goku can sort of master Ultra Instinct, so he's got that. Vegeta's sort of awakened beyond his blue form, and Broly's got his weird berserker.
And Gohan has Mystic, so we're kind of diversifying things a lot within the same realm, so kudos to them there. Hopefully we don't see them all just go down the same path, like, oh my god, please no. No, you're right, that's cool, I like that. So that's an interesting little cocktail of different pathways. It's going to be interesting though if they do another movie, because like within this interview, like they do say they need to do fans. He says fans will be expecting something different and unique again to one up it. So, I mean, I don't think the next movie will be this huge, grand, like Broly-esque battle. Like maybe it's going to be more story heavy. I don't know. Like to be different. Like, can it be fan servicey and rolling in Cooler? I don't know. Maybe. It's going to be interesting to see where it goes, because the manga is still ticking along as well. That's still happening. Like it's like we're well into the next canon story arc for Dragon Ball Super, with Moro and, you know, the intergalactic 10 million year old wizard who's just wreaking havoc on the galaxy. So I don't know, maybe do they tell that in movie form, Mark, or does that get left for the series? Like, I'm just kind of not sure. Like,
yeah. Well, I'm not up to date on the manga, but I imagine that might be a bit too grand for a movie.
Yeah, for a movie, too much to tell within a movie. It won't do it justice.
Yeah. Like when you go through some Super's arcs, like, you could not tell the Future Trunks thing in a movie.
No,
that's too freaking big.
No. Yeah, no. So, but like, do we tell a standalone movie again that exists within the cinematic kind of canon, right? Let's just say, for argument's sake, we roll in Cooler. And we get a Cooler movie, we've had a Broly movie. Do we then just pick up where the manga starts and start telling the Moro story with some of these new characters like Cooler and Broly rolled in? And if we do, does that then present the possibility and threat of the series further diversifying away from the manga because now they have to roll in new characters? And I guess that's not an issue because I stopped thinking about kind of the anime and the manga being which one's canon. Like, to me, they're both just kind of different iterations of the canon, right? Like, I don't think you can think of the manga as just being the biblical, like, source material canon because, like, the anime is just so hugely popular. Like, I think it needs to be recognized as canon. What happens in there, I think, needs to be recognized as canon, right? Otherwise, it just gets too confusing. But I'm just kind of wondering, like, it was easy with the Battle of Gods and Resurrection of F because that was the beginning point. But now if we do two movies, we're really, really dicking around between the arcs of the manga. And over the course of two movies, a lot can happen and change. So I'm kind of wondering how much is a little bit too much dicking around with changes and then having to pick up the manga. That's just kind of what I'm wondering or curious about, like how it integrates back into the one line again.
I don't know. It makes it so hard because the anime and manga became separate entities pretty much during the Tournament of Power.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like it's also weird because like the manga author isn't Akira Toriyama for Super, but Akira Toriyama wrote the Broly movie.
Yeah,
therefore making it canon.
I believe Akira pens the plot points and the character designs, and he works with somebody else that. Again, so I'm sorry. Like, these names, they all slip my mind because I'm a stupid Westerner and I can't remember their names. All right, I'm sorry. I apologize. So run over. Anyway, he creates kind of, I guess, the source material and then works with this other fella to create the manga. Right?
Yeah, like not unlike sort of like George R. R. Martin, how he advised people with Game of Thrones. He's like, here's how it ends.
Yeah,
everything else in between.
It's kind of like a three-way system. So you got Akira who works with this guy who makes the manga, and then the guy he works with the manga studio then collabs with the anime studio to create the anime. So there's like that kind of overlap there.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're all obviously interconnected and working together. But yeah, sorry, Mark, go on. You were discussing Akira.
Well, how they're all separate entities. So basically, like, the manga is its own thing, the anime is its own thing, and then the movies are penned by Akira Toriyama, therefore making them canon. And so integration of that, I would imagine that the movie and anime would take precedence.
Yeah.
In that, and the manga is just its own thing.
But you say that, right?
You say that.
You say that. But there's inconsistencies, right? So there's confusion regarding the movies. It's like, well, why did Goku never use his Kaioken times 20 in blue when fighting Broly? You know, why wouldn't he use his trump card? I'm like, well, because that doesn't exist in the manga iteration, and that's the version that Akira Toriyama is predominantly or probably solely involved in. Like, that's his space. So it wasn't in the movie because he decided to just directly pen this movie. Yeah. And he didn't include that in because it doesn't exist in his version of the canon.
Not unlike how in the Broly movie we saw Vegeta go red for the first time, even though he's done that in the manga.
But hasn't in the series.
Yeah, because blue, they did something annoying and made blue the trump card that they use all the time instead of red being the sort of transition that they use a lot more and only pulling out blue when they need it.
Yeah.
And like the Broly movie showed that, where they only pull out blue when they really need to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I mean, I hear what you're saying about Akira's being kind of like this biblical canon, but he's kind of now dabbled in both realms and brought... There was already inconsistencies between the two, which is fine, which is why I think you got to kind of view them as their own iterations of the canon and just kind of deal with it. But when he's working on both... then it kind of gets a little bit skewy and confusing when he's also bringing his own version of canon into another version of canon's universe, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, Mark, I'm confused and I don't know how we got here.
Yeah, I don't know how we got here. I guess that they're all just entities now, and then they can borrow from each other. I think it's the one thing everyone agrees on, though, is that GT is not canon.
Quietly swept that one under the rug. Oh, man. Although, I mean, come on. It would be sick if we saw Broly maybe kind of take that Zero 8 power down the Super Saiyan 4 path power realm, and that's a little nod to it. That would be cool. How cool would a Broly be in Super Saiyan 4, man?
No, I've seen it in Dragon Ball Heroes. They do it like every 5 seconds.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, ooh, he's level 4. He's level 4.
So yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I'm just kind of... I guess my point was, I'm really curious if they do another movie and the series is delayed a little bit longer. The manga's still going, and we eventually, in the cinematic realm, have to reconnect back into that manga and plug back in, but we're going to be plugging back in with all this extra movie baggage. And how do you integrate that back in without further creating huge inconsistencies between the two versions? Maybe they don't care, and if they don't care, then it's going to be easy. You know, they'll just write in Broly, they'll just write in this person, they're just going to write in this person as well. And if they want to do that, that's fine. But I'm just wondering if maybe the manga will eventually also write in Broly as well, and that they retell his kind of story arc as well, but in a different location in the timeline. I don't know. Or maybe they go back and write the Broly movie in the manga, and they kind of release that. No, they can't. They can't do that. They can't do that because then they're not going to be able to work Broly into the Moro arc. I don't know. I guess my point is I'm just interested to see how it all interconnects back into kind of the one timeline. You know what I mean? Because they both follow the one timeline, and just currently the cinematic universe is just a little bit behind. So I'm just wondering how it's going to plug back in with all this extra baggage. So I'm sorry, Mark. I word vomited a little bit, but I'm just kind of giving you my live thoughts, I guess, as to how this is all going to work. So if you have your thoughts and opinions, let us know down below. I'm very interested to see what you guys think about how this is all going to reconnect back up. If you're following the Moro arc, just try to be sensitive of spoilers. I don't talk about the Moro arc on here much whatsoever beyond just dropping the odd name bomb here and there. But let us know down below. But I think we can leave it at that for this I guess news and speculation segment of the episode. And Mark, let's jump into our musical break, and then we'll be back on the other end of that break to discuss the future of Trunks, the movie special. We thought that would be a fun one to touch on, given that... I don't know why we thought that would be a fun one to touch on, Mark, back in the day. Why did we think that would be a fun one to
Because
revisit?
we did Bardock.
We did Bardock, and we wanted to keep doing the movie specials?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
There's
That's good
only
enough for
one
me.
more,
So we'll see you guys on the other side of the break then. welcome back to our movie segments for this issue of G-Fighterz. And as mentioned previously, we're talking about the Future of Trunks movie TV special. History of Trunks. History of Trunks. I do apologize. To give you a few little tidbits of information about this movie, it was released on February 24th, 1993 in Japan. It had a US release date of October 2004 and has a runtime of 48 minutes. And I think overall it was received very positively by the fandom. To give you a little snapshot of the story, Goku has been lost to the heart virus, and all of the Earth's mightiest warriors, except Gohan, except Gohan, have fallen to the androids. 13 years later, Gohan repeatedly challenges the androids, but they are too strong. He begins training a young Trunks who is eager to fight alongside him and reclaim their future. So that was my little write-up of the story, Mark. Hopefully that was adequate.
Yeah.
But Mark, where do you want to start with this one? Do you want to start with the story, the fighting? There's heaps of fighting.
Yeah.
Overall, what was your feelings towards this movie?
I've always liked History of Trunks because it's probably the bleakest look in Dragon Ball.
Oh yeah, dude.
But I've always liked Trunks. He's always been one of my favorite characters, and he's always had some of the most intelligent arcs for like where they actually use emotion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it painted a picture of what happens if these characters like properly die, whereas usually in Dragon Ball we have temporarily die. It's like being killed is like being knocked out.
Yeah, it's like a rite of passage.
Yeah. So it was what if Dragon Ball actually had stakes? And that's what History of Trunks is.
Yeah, it does. They all die. Yeah, pretty bleak. And of course, they can't use the Dragon Balls because Piccolo and Kami are gone as well. So the movie opens with Goku dying from the heart virus. Like, that's where it decides to open the movie. Like, it doesn't hold its punches. Goku dies at the very beginning. And then we do like a quick cut reel of just all the Z Warriors being killed by the androids. So it's pretty savage. I think one little small criticism I had with this one is I think we could have had a longer telling, like an hour and 20 minutes easy would have been great for this movie. And I know it's a special, so it's just something fun they did, but it would have been cool to actually have seen the initial pushback against those androids like we did in our Dragon Ball Z timeline, but without Goku. But to see that unfold in a slower fashion and actually really dive into their depths, the deaths, sorry. I think that would have been a really cool, gritty thing to do. Like, actually show the other way it went. They all die, and then we transition into kind of future Gohan 13 years later after it's all happened and we've seen it happened. I just think that would have been cool to see. But yeah, you're right. Really, really dark telling overall in any case. But really cool, though. Really cool. What do you think of... Did you listen to the Japanese or the English audio, Mark?
English.
English.
Did you listen to Japanese?
No, I listened to English. What do you think of Gohan, adult Gohan, as a voice actor?
Yeah, I don't know why, but I thought he was voiced by adult Gohan from the Buu Saga, and then when I was watching it, I was like, oh, he's not.
No, he's definitely not.
Yeah.
There's a couple of scenes where I don't want to like rake him over the coals too much, but he sounds really goobery, man. Real goobery in a couple of scenes. I don't know. He sounds like the Ocean dub in some respects, or like I was listening to Abridged or something like that. There's just a couple of scenes that I just chuck it up like, what the hell? You feel out of place, man. Yeah. Anyway, that was a little side note. Adult Gohan's cool though in general.
He is.
Like, holy cow.
He's always been my favorite Gohan incarnation.
Yeah, he's really cool. Like, he's the fully fleshed out kind of where the fandom wanted Gohan to go, I guess. Like, he's jacked as all hell, like probably bigger than Goku. An actual fighter. Yeah, really cool. Like, I don't know. I would love to see this iteration of Gohan in our timeline. That would be sick.
But, like he's even a powerhouse. Missing a limb.
Oh yeah, he takes it to the androids, even missing a limb. Yeah. So yeah, that was sick. Really cool. Lots of action in this movie as well. There's so many different fight scenes. It's kind of hard to pin down any one point in time where I was like, that was awesome. But yeah, it was a lot of really good action. It was cool to see Trunks get his sword as well. Sorry, we didn't see him get his sword. We got to see him use his sword. Yeah. I did think it was a little bit weird that he was a kid, didn't have a sword, and then all of a sudden he's an adult and has a sword. Like somewhere that story of the sword acquisition happened in that little 3-year time lapse between between like young Trunks and adolescent adult Trunks. So I thought that was a bit strange, but I guess it was cool to see him get it no matter what.
I watched the abridged as well.
How good is the Bulma and Gohan scenes?
It's so stupid. It's so good.
So if you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch it, because pretty much Bulma is a lonely old housewife who's trying to proposition Gohan when he's over for dinner. It's fantastic. It's fantastic.
Yeah. But also just like some of the sequences of like Gohan's past, it's like he starts reminiscing about things, and it's like, because I was so sad, and this is how I turned Super Saiyan, because I was remembering all the people I lost, like Piccolo and Krillin, and your dad. Oh yeah, him.
Oh man, so good.
And it's so like, you guys just think about something of great loss, like losing your arm, for example. Like they made adult Gohan very salty. and bitter.
Yeah, well, I mean, you would be, right? It's totally a more accurate depiction of the character, and often I think Abridged does do it more accurately, but with weird, twisted humor.
Yeah, like also explaining how he didn't really train Trunks.
Yeah,
he just put him through a few situations and said fight.
That's true. It's true. Oh man, yeah, and. How, like, I don't know, after seeing Super, though, and seeing that version of Android 17 and 18, it's kind of crazy to look back at, like, an alternate future version of them as well, because they became such, especially 17, like, such good people, or good androids.
Yeah.
It's just strange to think that, see this other version of them where if you had just let them go, they were perfectly okay with just killing and murdering the entire planet. Like, obviously that Dr. Gero had baked in humankind prejudice into his androids, because like they state in the special, like, we're not like programmed to destroy you, we just hate you. And like that's some gnarly prejudice right there. So that's kind of like the basis of what they're operating on. So I mean, I'm guessing that's just kind of what got broken in our timeline, is that they eventually kind of saw, well, fuck, like these guys don't want us to get absorbed by cells are going to absorb us and become like this all-powerful being. You know, we help you, I help you, they help us, blah blah blah. And I guess like that kind of prejudice kind of dissolved out in our timeline, I guess, because like there is no real programming, was there? Otherwise they'd just kind of be hell-bent no matter what, and you'd have to destroy them. But I just thought that was interesting, like a little interesting comparison between the two, about how that prejudice was broken in our timeline versus it just ran rampant in the alternate timeline, being Trunks.
And how they evolve, especially in Super, but also in Abridged, how they make a reference to it. Like they say that Android 17 wants to be a park ranger, but he doesn't want the humans there.
Well, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because he does isolate himself, doesn't he? So I don't know, like, you know, maybe there's still like traces and elements of that in there. Like he just doesn't like people. Like he went from just being hate and prejudice to I just don't like being around them. I'm like, so I don't know. It was kind of heavy, wasn't it? Like it was for a Dragon Ball movie. Like you said, this is a pretty dark telling of this alternate future. But I thought that was one of the most interesting points of this movie was, for like the first time, I'm going to say that with a pinch of salt, we kind of they openly acknowledge that they're not really programmed to destroy the humankind like all the other androids. It's just a prejudice that's baked in.
Yeah, because they were initially programmed to kill Goku.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't everyone, it was Goku.
Yeah. And they're just operating off the prejudice after that. Just the hate for like people. humans. So,
but then also, like, it happened in Bardock and it happened in this as well. And while they aren't movies, they are specials. I like that they went on the non-traditional storytelling route, whereas like the movies did a very clear thing of like villain shows up, fight the villain, get hurt, kill the villain in like one shot. In Bardock, doesn't happen. In Trunks, it really doesn't happen. Because Trunks is too inexperienced to fight them. He doesn't know what's going on. They are overwhelming. And so when you have this whole arc, it's not a thing of we're going to achieve certain victory. And also, like, what would certain victory get you? Because there isn't much Earth left.
Yeah, and that's the sad thing about Trunks' future is that, I mean, it's acknowledged that it doesn't, what you do in the past doesn't alter the damn future, right? Like, he has to go to the past to save the past and just create a timeline where he knows it keeps going, but then he brings back the powers he's gained from the past to the future to still have to defeat the enemies in the future, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe that's part of the plan, like to go back, train with the best in Goku and figure out how to defeat him and then bring that back.
Yeah, so save what he can.
Yeah, save what he can. The desperation, just save something. And that is the history of Trunks. The movie doesn't end happily. It ends happily because we have the knowledge of he eventually succeeds in the anime. But this really is a telling of what we didn't see in the anime, like from his point of view, how he came to be as a person and why he went back. Which is kind of like the missing little story arc, right? That adds a bit of context of the future. It was bad.
Like why he's so traumatized of the androids, things like that.
Yeah, definitely. He takes them so seriously because he killed everyone. They killed everyone, sorry. So yeah, you're right. Like it does follow a pretty awesome story beat. And it just concludes. It doesn't beat around the bush. He goes back and then bang, it's over. There's no happy ending. He gets his ass whooped and he's like, all right, Mum, I'm going back. Fuck it. This future's cooked. It's done. And they just go. It just wraps up just like that. And you're like, damn, that's dark. Like, everybody died. Gohan died. Everyone's dead. So yeah, you're right. I really, really do like these movie specials. They're really cool. It's a shame we don't have more because I feel like the storytelling is superior. And again, I think it's because they're trying to tell a story, but it's a story that has existing context already, so they don't have to like engineer it all. And it is actually a story, whereas the other movies is just an excuse to fight a bad guy, basically. So, in that sense, it's really cool. Before we wrap up this episode, though, Mark, future Gohan, man, if let me poke a question at you. If he had fought 17 one-on-one with both his arms, do you reckon he would have won?
Yeah, he showed the power where he could take them one-on-one, which is why he probably needed Trunks. If Trunks was better, he could have distracted an android long enough
for him to kill one.
Yeah, for him to finish the job.
Yeah, so like definitively, I think we can say that future Gohan is hand over fist more powerful as just a Saiyan over Vegeta and Goku when they were Super Saiyans in the past, because they got their butts whooped by the android, especially Vegeta gets his arm broken in half, when he's recently acquired his Saiyan powers. So this is like a really, really a Gohan that's taken the base form to its limits. Like he takes it to 17. And I absolutely think he would have won if it was a one-on-one, because he does quite well two-on-one. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting as well. So yeah. Boss man, bloody Gohan, man, just crushes it. But Mark, let's wrap this episode up. Give me your out of 7 Dragon Ball rating for this special.
I think, because it is one of my favorites, probably 6 out of 7. Oof. It's a really solid one and probably the best storytelling out of a lot of the movies.
Yep. I agree with that. I'm going to give it 6 out of 7 Dragon Balls also. Let us know what your ratings are down below, of course. Mark, What are we watching next? What did we have coming up next?
I have no idea what's next.
Actually, I'll be back. Let me grab my case. Oh, gross, Mark. We're on to, I believe, the last one we did before the father of Goku, Bardock, and the Trunks special. We watched BoJack Unbound.
Yeah.
And I believe... No, we did Broly. Sorry, we did Broly, and then we have Broly Second Coming, and then we have Bio Broly.
Okay. I still maintain I've never seen Bio Broly, so this will be interesting.
Oh, dude, it's terrible. Terrible.
Well, at least when we finish those, we can do Wrath of the Dragon and Fusion Reborn.
Yes,
because
they're
those
going to
are
be
sick.
Yeah, they're sick. We're getting towards the tail end, though. We've actually done most of these movies. So, obviously, we have Broly Second Coming, Bio Broly, Fusion Reborn, Wrath of the Dragon, and that's it. Then we're done.
Yeah. Oh, we can do Battle of the Gods and Resurrection.
Oh, yeah, we can do Battle of the Gods and Resurrection. I mean, we're never going to be short of movies. There's all the bloody Dragon Ball movies as well. But so next week we will be doing, for those listening, Broly's Second Coming. So if you want to join us for that discussion, make sure you watch the movie. Highly recommend you watch the Dragon Ball Z Abridged as well, because it'll add a little bit of context, because I'm sure we'll bring that up during the record like we do every single time. So be sure to give that one a watch if you want to join us for the next recording, as that's what we will be discussing. As well, we'll be bringing you all the latest Dragon Ball news in the next issue as well. And we'll see you guys in the next issue of Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball? It's not Dragon Ball.
That's not what our show's called.
Let me try that again. We'll see you guys in the next issue of G-Fighterz. And as per usual, you know the drill. If you've enjoyed this episode, or if you're a newcomer, remember to check out the channel. We've got heaps of other video game related content on there. I do another podcast as well called Pocket Edition, which is video game focused. So check that out. And we'll see you guys in the next issue. Have a good one.